here we are. Welcome to the stream tonight. I am not alone. I am joined by Movie Dean. How's it going,
Hey.
Dean? Man, we were saying before we hopped on, it's nice to come into a show where we're not upset about the episode.
We're not going to arm wrestle this time.
No, we're gonna have fun. I think that there were some things that obviously we didn't like about the previous episode, but I think that in regards to this episode, let us know what you think in the chat. What was your take on the episode? Give us a rating 1 to 10. Hey, if you hated it, that's fine. You could please let us know why, but spoiler right out the front, Dean and I really enjoyed this episode for many different reasons. And if you saw the thumbnail, you know two of them. We got Thrawn, who I'm pumped about, and you got to see Ezra. More importantly, your son got to see Ezra.
Oh man, you don't even know. He was so excited, Jeremy.
Now,
he was so excited.
I am gonna put some tension at the front though. I think I have a better way they should have done the Ezra reveal. We'll get to that. Okay. But I loved it, but I think I'm like, oh, they left some stuff on the table that could have gone from like an 8 to like a 15. But that's of course because it's my idea, and I think my idea is always the better idea.
Sure.
My wife knows that pain. It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. But tonight we're going to walk through some of our feelings, our thoughts, our favorite parts, and even we like to be honest when we can. What are some of the things that might still not have been to our perfect standard of liking? And the reason we do that is I'd rather be honest about everything than just say, hey, we loved it all. That's not us. And we both got a little bit of internet, you a little bit more than I did, a little internet lashback for some of our previous takes. You definitely didn't like the last episode. I was more a few things. But in regards to episode 6, give me your top 3 moments of the episode. What are your top 3?
Oh man. Top 3 moments? There were some really cool moments. Probably number 1 is, of course, the hug. Not necessarily like the first shot of Ezra being back, but the hug. I just love that relationship between Sabine and Ezra, and having seen it over those years of watching Rebels and you know, with me, like day 1 of watching Rebels was with my oldest son. So it's something that is like kind of knit our love for Star Wars together. Like, because obviously I love Star Wars because of the original trilogy, and then, you know, growing up in like the prequel era and all that, like that's cool. But he watches those and goes, those are old movies, right? It's like Tom Holland Spider-Man in Civil War, where he's like, remember that old movie Empire Strikes Back? That's kind of his view of it. Yeah. Until Rebels came along. And so we watch that together every episode. He loves Ezra. There's Luke Skywalker and then Ezra in his mind. And I got to be honest, like, it's almost that way for me. Like, I really love Ezra. I think he's such a cool character. And so to see him back was awesome. I also, it did feel a little anticlimactic, to be honest, of him just like being behind her. Like, I love the relationship that they have. But I'm interested to hear where you're going to go with like how he could have been introduced. That's super cool. But the hug itself, I mean, it pulled at my heartstrings, man. Yeah. Like to see them finally after a decade reunited. Like, oh, it's so beautiful. I loved it.
And it's going to come crashing down.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
When,
dang, Jeremy coming out. What was your favorite moment? Bash, bash, bash.
Well, no, I think it's going to come crashing down because as soon as Ezra finds out how Sabine got there, how Sabine basically allows Thrawn and everything Ezra did to be undone.
Yeah.
And they don't have a plan to get home.
Who needs to go home when you have each other, right?
Well, there's about to be a Baylan and Shin showdown coming after Ezra. So it's going to get real quick. Yeah, it will be.
And then number 2 for me would have been the first shot of the Star Destroyer. That was one of the most cinematic things that I've seen in Disney Plus's Star Wars stuff, and even like MCU, any of their big tier stuff. Like that was just insane. Like going up from like the tower and all of that.
Yeah.
And then seeing these red mothers, and who the heck are they?
Right.
And like as soon as we saw that statue, I was like, okay, here we go. Like, oh, it is the Night Sisters. That's what's going on. But to then hear about the kingdom, are you serious? They sound like they were like the freaking Empire over in this other galaxy.
And what happened because they want out of Dodge.
Yeah, man. Like that's such a cool idea. That's the stuff that gets me really jacked about this. Like it's not necessarily like the things that actually transpire in this episode, but it's like where things are leading, and we're starting now to get like a fuller picture, and that picture looks insanely cool. So yeah,
well, and I think that this is the hope that some have been saying for a few weeks now, that Dave Filoni is trying to do something new. And if we look back at Star Wars, Disney Star Wars particularly, we have not seen anything really that new. Nothing, like we've seen a few pieces here and there, but everything has felt kind of like, oh yeah, that's Star Wars. Like you go through the whole second trilogy, man, or the sequel trilogy, and yeah, it feels like, okay, there's stuff maybe people didn't like, but it all felt like, oh, this is Star Wars. This is still Star Wars, but now we're like, whoa, there's all these things. And so my mind is going to all these places of who's calling out to Baylan? Like what is it the Night Sisters are super afraid of, and why isn't Baylan afraid? And yeah, I think there's so much interesting that can happen. But here's the problem, Dean. We only have 2 episodes left.
Yeah. Well, that's been like the fatal flaw of this show, and why it hasn't been what people were hoping, that kind of banner that all of Star Wars fans could kind of, come underneath this banner and just be like, we're united. This is awesome. The reason why it hasn't been that is because of the pacing. I feel like the pacing of this show has just continued to drag and drag and drag. And I know I've talked about it so often when we've been doing these chats, but even this episode, like so many pauses in our conversations, and then all of a sudden it's rushed at the very end. Like so, we got like Ezra shows up in like the last 7 minutes. Like that's crazy.
Which I'm fine with, other than if they had done a different way. I think some of the pauses were fantastic. I think one of them, when Thrawn hears that Ahsoka might still be alive, or there's a threat coming, that pause is him, like that inner dialogue. If you've read the Thrawn novels, or if you've done any of the extra stuff that isn't just Rebels or Clone Wars, Thrawn is always inner monologuing in all the books of what he's thinking. And in my mind, as a big Thrawn fan, I'm like, oh, he's thinking. Some have said, oh, he's been afraid. I'm like, he's not afraid. He's not afraid in that moment. Exactly. Like he's letting the moment, I don't have to rush this. Kill all the Purrgil if they show up. And it's like, shoot them all down. Like, whoa. So it's, but you're right. There are some other moments where, particularly them walking with the turtle lobster people, I was like, this is taking a moment. I also think we're going a little bit slow, but overall, I actually think I liked this episode more than the previous episode. And I really liked the previous episode. I know you didn't. And so for me, the 3 that stick out, and it's going to be the entrance of Thrawn, including the cinematic, all of it, the fake out of, you think you say, oh, is Sabine really using the Force right now? The walls start shaking, and all of a sudden the Crimea pops up, and you're like, oh, and then you have stormtroopers chanting Thrawn. Like,
I did not realize that the first time I saw it. I watched it again this afternoon with like the subtitles on. Yeah, they're chanting his name and saying march, and
and the music. I'm glad it wasn't a theme. There's Thrawn themes. There's music that could be used. I felt that the music choices made that moment feel very weighty and heavy and intense. much more than if it had maybe just been some other Star Warsy music, because it does feel a little outside of place of Star Wars, some of the music, but I think the choices have been all on point.
It was very like Zimmer kind of style.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it sounded like something you would see in a Christopher Nolan movie rather than in Star Wars, but it worked. It was so eerie.
Yeah, and there's some that are still going to complain and say the skin on Thrawn and this, that, the other. Or some were saying he looks a little fat. I'm like, he's almost 70 by the time we get here. Yeah, I mean,
have you seen any generals?
No, yeah.
Like, have you seen any of these like historical figures that we look into and say, "Oh, that was a great general"?
He was in good shape, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Well, before we hop to my next two, don't forget to give the video a like. Hit that like button if you're here and enjoying. If you enjoyed the show, you can let us know in the comments. And if you have questions or things you want us to address about the episode, throw it into the chat there. We will definitely do our best and at least give you what we think. So that was number one. Thrawn showing up, I thought was absolutely fantastic. Number two for me is, and I'm going to maybe kind of cheat, but I'll choose one. I'll say the intrigue of the show in particular, and I made a video about this earlier today, particularly the stormtroopers. I love when they're doing things like this that are new. I saw one person put out a video and say, I haven't wanted a single Star Wars figurine until I saw those stormtroopers. And I'm like, I want one of those. I'm not going to buy one.
Pretty cool.
And I think this bringing back together in what I thought is, I think it's going to tie up some of the Marrok storyline that was left and going to connect into these stormtroopers. So I thought that was just that whole scene, the stormtroopers, Thrawn, that's my 1 and 2. I thought that was done fantastic. I will be honest, I was very nervous when the episode opened and it was Ahsoka and Huyang sitting in the ship. I'm like, if they start playing cards, I'm out. Because that's what we had talked about last time. Like, please don't give us 5 minutes of dialogue while they're waiting.
But I will say they almost made me angry too with their, tell me a story, and we all want to know that story, and then fade to black. But I feel like over the entirety of the episode, we kind of got that. Like, at least we got like some of like the main factors what that story would be. But
yeah, especially
like, you better tell me that story.
Especially the conversation between Baylan and Shin. I think we're getting the story through Baylan, which I prefer because we didn't see a lot of Baylan, and that is going to be my number 3. I am really, really interested in what's going to happen with Baylan and Shin. We've seen that Thrawn says right out the gate he doesn't care about them at all. Like, they can be stranded here. He doesn't care. That's kind of wild to me because that already shows that he has no allegiance to them. And really, Baylan probably doesn't have any allegiance to Thrawn. He just wants this power that the Night Sisters are afraid of. And I'm here for it. I thought those storylines were great. I did like Ezra. I did like those things. But I really love the furthering of the storyline through Baylan. I thought the show needed that. And it's so sad that Ray Stevenson isn't continuing because I think he's been one of the best parts of the show week in and week out. And I wonder, do you think, Dean, are they going to recast Baylan? Because I don't think he's going to die.
I kind of do think he's going to die. Usually it's the people who like pursue the greatest power that end up getting destroyed. Fair. So I do think he's probably going to die. But if he doesn't, then you have to, because he's too awesome of a character. Like if in this story, like, and especially if they leave it to where he's, you know, I don't know, he's in control of a ship coming back to the other galaxy with whatever power, or, you know, I don't know, probably just another whale. But like whatever that is, if he's actually like a part of the story moving forward, then you have to recast him. And it sucks. Because you're not going to get a better actor for that role. Like, it's one of the few times I've looked at a Star Wars character lately and been like, I can't see anybody else doing this. Like, at least to this level. Like, Ray Stevenson is just, he's killing it. And he's been like the total intrigue of this entire show up till now. And so, yeah, like it would be a disappointment, but I think it would be necessary if they're going to continue his story.
Well, we have 2 episodes to find out, and we'll find out what happens with him. But he has been just every time he's on the screen, just the presence, and it shows very differently because there has not been a single character in this entire show that I think commands the presence that Ray Stevenson has commanded. And it's beautiful in a way that this is his last project and a way to be remembered and a thing that can be held up to be like it's a beautiful moment, but also it is sad and tragic that he can't and won't be with us any longer. And so, with all that to say, now let's say those are our high points of the episode. And before we get into the rest of the episode, Dean, did you see the news that dropped a day ago about Star Wars? And this is up your alley because you're the movie guy. And apparently, the Taika Waititi movie is officially dead. Officially dead.
Yeah, I mean it is kind of dead. Like the reason why I haven't made a video about it yet is because like it's such speculation right now. But I mean, like we kind of knew it was dead already. Like it's been so long since it was announced, and he was just like cracking jokes the other day at some like ceremony, talking about how he couldn't finish a script for Star Wars, and so it makes sense that would be true, but like we don't have it from like Hollywood Reporter or Variety or one of these like big name companies. But I mean, it's probably for the good, like I love Taika Waititi. I love his original content. Like the guy makes some really funny movies, really heartfelt movies too, with Hunt for the Wilder People and movies like that, Jojo Rabbit. But Thor Love and Thunder is just like one of the worst movies made in the last like 10 years as far as like huge blockbusters. So I would say that it's probably for the best that he's not doing a Star Wars movie.
And I bet it's a combination of things, but I think it's for the best. That was the overall sentiment that Twitter had, was good. We were worried about that. He doesn't
like
play
I'm
nice.
Sure he could do something quirky and fun, but right now what Star Wars needs is not quirky and fun.
No.
What Star Wars needs is get to the point. Yeah. Like let's start like building something. And that's what this show is finally doing. It's finally building something new.
Well, and that, so let's talk about that new thing. Let's dive into a little bit, because if you guys want a full breakdown of the episode minute by minute, that's not going to be what we're doing. You can watch that. Everyone's doing that. I kind of
there's
don't like
1,000 videos right now.
It's not. But we're gonna talk about a little bit of the things that I think are intriguing going forward. Maybe we might theorize a little bit. If you have theories, let us know in the chat what you think is going to happen, and I'll share why, or a way that I think Ezra could have been introduced and it be really intriguing. Not that what we got was bad. I'm not saying that, but there were some moments I'm like, wow, if they had done this, I would have been excited. I've talked to some friends about it, and they're like, oh, I think you're right. I'm like, maybe I am. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. I'm not going to push that. So the intrigue here, what do you think? And I think this is a huge question that hopefully next episode we get answered. What do you think is actually drawing Baylan? What is it that he is being pulled to that the Night Sisters are afraid of? Because clearly it's some massive power. He had this whole conversation about how he basically wants to do the Thanos snap it all back and get rid of all of it in a way. Well, any thoughts as to what this power that the Night Sisters are fleeing could be?
I don't know, man. It's hard because like the first thought that I have was, with the Rebel Signia, which was also, that would probably be my number 4 thing, is like, I just love, like, it's poetic, man. Like the rebellion went all the way to another galaxy, it's just like rebels are everywhere. And I love that in Star Wars. But my first thought was like, okay, well, they've lost then. Like they're maybe like the last remnant of whatever this empire of Night Sisters was. And like these guys in the red armor and these nomads or whatever, I think it was Enoch or one of the stormtroopers was talking about them. Yep. Like maybe they're just like on the run from them. and they've been holding out in this tower for so long, but they need an escape. But, then I think about, well, they got a frickin' army with Thrawn. Like, so if it was just like, a physical, problem of them losing like an actual war, that's not anything. So it has to be something in like the spiritual realm with the Force. And I don't know what that would be that would cause them, because obviously they're super powerful. Like, I know you did a video on it. It was my first thought too. As soon as I saw like the red, these stormtroopers are dead, y'all. Like
100%.
I don't know if they're like the reanimated corpses of those exact stormtroopers, or if they're different spirits, or in just stormtrooper bodies, but they're dead. And the Night Sisters, they did that. So like they're obviously insanely powerful. So like what would someone with that kind of power level that I don't think we've seen anything to that, like to that extent. Like even, people talk about Rey being like way overpowered. Rey can't do that. Like that's insane. So who would they be scared of? Well, what is that? The only thing I can think of is that it is something to do with the light side. Sure. Because they're so dark. Like that, like they're not Sith, they're something else, but they're using the dark side of the Force. And so it has to be something. I don't think that you go like it's a bigger bad, like, or like paying the toll for all their power or something, like they had to make some kind of sacrifice to the dark side of the Force to get their stuff. I don't think it would be something like that. But I think it has to be something on the lighter side. I don't know what that is. If it's the Bendu, like that would be insanely cool, because we saw him, wrecking shop in like this like lightning storm thing. Like that's nuts. Like it would be crazy to see something like that again, especially in live action. But we got Purrgil flying all over the place, so maybe they'll do that.
Well, they call them star whales, Dean.
They're called star whales, not space whales. Big difference, Jeremy. It's star whales. So much better.
Well, and so here's my thought. Originally, I was sitting here going, man, what is so evil that they're going to be afraid of? What is the thing? And then you've got all these extra things in Legends and in the EU expanded universe, like the Yusong Vong, like Aboleth, the mother to the Mortis gods that we've talked about previously. But the more I think about it, the more I don't think it's any of those things. I had a moment in momentary thought that what Baylan was looking for was a portal to the world between worlds so that he could go back in time and reset everything. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's way too complicated and too risky to do time travel. So then I come to, there's a scene that I think starts to give us some information into what's going on here. And it's right when we meet those mothers and they look at Sabine, and what do they say about Sabine?
She reeks of Jedi. Yeah.
And she's dangerous. Like they don't, I'm not going to say they're afraid, but they are very like, she's dangerous. And we're all sitting there going, no, she's not. She doesn't have any, she can't move a cup.
Have you just wait till you actually get to know her. She's not,
she's not bad, but she has a lightsaber. They definitely have some kind of connection to the Force to be able to feel that. So there is something there. But it makes me begin to think, though, is it something that is extreme light, like what you're saying? And then I start to think, okay, this is Dave Filoni, right? Dave Filoni, who loves George Lucas and has been following a lot of the footsteps of things that George Lucas has done. And there's an area of the Force that has been very underlooked at and not very much talked about at all, and that's the Whills. And looking at the Whills and kind of the originators of the Force, is it possible that here in Peridea, there is some kind of manifestation or some kind of extreme connection to the Whills themselves that has led to the destruction of this dark magic, dark side magic? Now, the only downside to that theory in my mind is, well, I don't know that it would leave the planet as a wasteland. but that's what we get. So is it a bigger bad? I don't know. It definitely is something they're afraid of, and darkness and light cannot coexist. So maybe it is the light is kind of how I've gone. But yeah, it could be Bendu. It could be this mother character that's the Mortis gods. I think it could be a lot of things, and that's what's intriguing. Or it could be something brand new that is going to be given maybe some flashbacks to how this planet, like that would be really interesting to me, even if we got brief snippets of how it all got destroyed. I think that would be really interesting, but
yeah,
we'll see.
I don't know, man. Like it's like the Wills would be crazy. Like that would be huge. But then again, like I keep on going, like they can't do that because they're trying to get
It's
in
too much.
average fans, and it's too deep. But then they bring in the Purgle, and they use the Purgle a lot. Like it wasn't just like they had him around.
We
Like
saw the graveyard.
They bring in like the Night Sisters and like this. Like I was not expecting, like maybe to see something about Night Sisters, but I was not expecting to see that freaking statue. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh crap! And then to find out like that was like the whole empire in this like galaxy, that they're going deep, so they could do the Wills. Like it seems like they just don't care to be like appealing to everybody. Like I thought, it's a Disney Plus show. I thought, they're just trying to get, keep everything as like base as possible as far as like entry level knowledge. But they're not doing that. They're going deep, and they're digging into all kinds of lore and all of that. So maybe they will.
Well, and I think that if they go a direction like that, I think that is something like the Wills is the simplest that already exists. Everything else that already exists, I think, will take a lot more backstory, a lot more filling in. Like if it's going to be the mother or this evil character, or if it's going to be something else, or it's going to be the Yusong Vong, or it's going to be all these other things that people think it might be, there's so much backstory that's needed. With the Wills, I mean, when we're talking about movies upcoming, one of the movies that's supposed to be coming up soon is going back to the origin of the Force.
Yeah.
And so it could be foreshadowing, connecting into that. Not that Dave Filoni is necessarily setting up other people's movies, but I think that there's going to be something, and either in some way, it's either going to be the biggest, baddest evil. And I think if it's going to be that, it's going to be something new, if it's going to be. And if it's going to be the light side, I think the Wills is really the only answer in that regard. Ultimately, we're going to find out. But it's definitely something that Baylan would say isn't the Jedi, and the Wills aren't. It's not just about the Jedi alone. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's intriguing and fun to think about. But I'm worried we might not get any answers.
I don't think we're gonna get answers.
I know
to a lot of like these bigger things. Like, like I already went on my rants about that in other episodes. But like I'm okay with like the biggest things of like, going back thousands of years. I'm okay without getting, those answers. I'm more like, well, what is Merrick? What are these stormtroopers?
Yeah.
Like who are what, like, why are these Night Sisters, the Red Mothers? Why are they leaving? Like those direct things.
Sure.
Now, like the nature of whatever this thing is calling Baylan, we might not get an answer to. But it does feel like he's setting up that movie for the origin of the Force. Like that's the first thing my mind went to, because we've already gotten dialogue that was like the people in our Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah.
They originated from this other galaxy, right? Or at least like the like Jedi and everything. Also, the Red Mothers like know what a Jedi is, and like so like they've been battling them, and like so that's such a cool idea. Like that just gets my mind going. But it feels like everything is being built up for this origin movie. Like I don't know how you could watch this episode and not be like, okay, so that's going to link into that, right? Like maybe not like super directly, but we're building up kind of like this infrastructure for what world that movie would exist in, and that is super cool. I don't know if we're going to get firm answers about some of these things, but is so fun to speculate about. Like, I'm just like, this stuff is really fun. Like, about the world between worlds and time travel and stuff. I hope we stay far away from that.
Yeah.
I really don't want to do time travel, but this is cool.
Well, we'll certainly see. I think that when we're talking about how is this going to come back and come to play, I think what is going to end up happening is I don't know that this season is going to leave Peridia. I think everything that's going to happen is going to happen on Peridia, and then it's either going to be a cliffhanger of some kind that people are stuck back in Peridia, because I think there's just too much. There's too much to do. I know we've been saying that, or it'll end with the Crimea locking into that huge space ring and flying off, and people maybe being a part of it or not. I don't know. We'll see. But in the end, all I want to know is I want us to have enough information that we can do good speculation while we wait for the next 2 years for the next season.
Long time. Yeah. I have some thoughts about that. One, last week we were like, why would you bring 3 star cruisers to Cetos to get those ships? I think now we have our answer.
Yep.
Like the Crimea is going to come, and it's going to wreck shop. Like, that's why those 3 ships are there. Mm-hmm. Not just for scale for the Purrgil, although that's great too. Like, I think that was like, yeah, they definitely had that in mind. But now they're sitting there, I'm assuming, because it's only 3 days, right? Like, you wouldn't just like be like, all right, well, let's leave. Let's not do any investigating, like, let's just go. So I'm thinking that those big ships are sitting there, and they're going to be so shocked to see Thrawn come and just wreck shop. And that'll be like the oh snap moment. He's back, like the Harry Potter Voldemort. He's back, like that kind of stuff. I don't think that we're like,
I agree. I think that right there, that thought is a space battle of that epic proportion is what would make me excited. And here's why. Because then we get to see Thrawn do what Thrawn does best, which is strategize a conflict and how he would take out these ships. And I would be all about that. That would tickle my like happy bone to be so happy about seeing all of the things that Thrawn is really good at and really use. And then it ends with the New Republic being decimated, knowing he's here. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah. And I think that like everyone's going to be making videos, I'm sure, about that map that him and Morgan are looking at. But I'm pretty sure that he was getting that info from Morgan of where exactly those ships were. No, I guess they wouldn't know that. Never mind. I take that back. They wouldn't know.
But I mean, they have, but they'll have intel of the New Republic. They'll have intel of what's been going on in the galaxy since Thrawn's been gone. What are they looking at? The downside with all of this, and the downside with Baylan, and the downside, we know where it ends up with the First Order. So whatever happens now, obviously isn't permanent. And is this what is Baylan? Baylan's obviously probably going to fail because he's not going to be able to do what he needs to do unless he remains trapped in this place during that time. And then then an ancient version of Baylan shows up in the Rey movie or something like that.
That'd be cool. I like that.
That would get me interested, at least. I'm going to go see it, but it'd at least get me more interested.
Yeah. But like just knowing that those ships are there, I think Thrawn will come back. I don't think that we're going to be left once again with people left behind wondering how to get back. It just seems too repetitive to me.
That's true.
We just did that with Cetos and getting in, Ahsoka the White going and doing her thing. But like, so I think that I think everyone's going to be on their way back. Like, I think Thrawn is going like that. I just see that battle sequence being like the last thing or like next to the last thing of then maybe some people who have a battle. Like it's going to be Balin and Shin and Ezra and Sabine and Ahsoka mixing it all up, right? Like that's what this concluding battle is going to be as far as them goes. I don't see Thrawn entering into the picture with those guys anymore. I see like a little bit of a separation of like people's goals and what they're trying to accomplish, even with Thrawn being like, we'll leave them, like, they don't matter. I feel like they're kind of separating ways because of their motivations. So
sure,
like, we're going to get a couple different battle sequences.
With that being the case, here's what I didn't like about the episode.
All right.
And it gets into what you just said, which is Thrawn not really caring. How is it possible that Sabine is there for less than a day and she bumps into a little crab creature with a rebel insignia, and all of a sudden she finds Ezra? One of two things. The only explanation that I'm using in my own headcanon to make this work is whatever is out there that the Red Mothers don't like, Thrawn has agreed and said, you know what? We're not going to chase after Ezra. We're not even going to look for Ezra. It doesn't matter. We just need to get out of here. Other than that, it feels kind of, wow, that was easy.
Well, he's had like 9 years to go after him. So I don't think it was like, oh, we're ignoring him, because he had latest intel on Bridger, and you could see like almost some disdain from him of just like, we'll give you the latest intel on this, like this little turd. like he just keeps on getting away.
Maybe he's been slicing up all the stormtroopers and they're just tired of losing. He did mention how their numbers have been decimated. So maybe Ezra has gotten even more powerful.
Oh, he's got to be. Like, I'm so excited to see. Like, he's got to have a lightsaber, right? Like, I don't know if they have kyber crystals over in this other galaxy, but he's got to have something. And I want to see whatever he's doing. If he's just doing force moves, I need to see it. I need to see it.
And this gets me to how I think they should have revealed Ezra. Because
here we go.
We had a moment where I'll paint the picture. I'll give the scene description as if I was writing it. You have everything happening. You have Sabine get on the wolf creature, whatever thing. It's Dave Filoni, so there's always wolves of some kind. And she gets into this ambush by the nomads. And she's taking shots, shooting, and same thing happens. Stuff falls down. But instead of that happening, you start to see like a figure move off, like from the behind the picture, like someone spying on this battle. And you're like, oh, okay, someone's spying on the battle. What is this? Who is this? And then all of a sudden you see Sabine get in a tough spot. And not only does she drop her weapons, the lightsaber falls off her belt. And all of a sudden, the lightsaber whap right into Ezra's hand, and he takes out all of the guards, saving Sabine from certain death, and he saves her again. And then it shows Ezra as the predator, but the one lurking, not this guy who's hanging out with shell creatures in these little hobbit homes and being like, we're hanging up by the water, and now let's help them pack up. No one's coming for me ever. There's nothing to worry about here. Like, I don't know. That kind of hangout, silly nature that he made them all little rebel insignias. I'm like, okay, that seems pretty risky if Thrawn is actually looking for you. So maybe it's not a perfect scenario, but I would have loved to see Ezra right away in the thick of it, force powers, saving Sabine, and Sabine like turning to shoot, not knowing what's going on and realizing it's Ezra. And in that moment, like, I don't know. I just thought would have thought
that. I got a couple rewrites. Cool. Okay, I got a couple rewrites on your rewrite.
Yeah, let me hear it.
One is the lightsaber falls out of her hand and she goes to pull it, and instead of it going to her, it goes to Ezra right past. Then he winks into camera, and then he starts fighting. Just letting us know. We know what should have happened. We know what should have happened on Starkiller Base. But it should have been Luke. We all know it.
Yeah. That's what I say. That's what I say to that right there. You know what? That
winks in the camera and starts wrecking shop.
If you're here,
I love that.
That deserves a like, because that anything that kind of pokes fun at the ridiculousness of the sequel trilogy, I'm on board for. Totally.
I actually really love that scene. But it was just like, ever since Mark Hamill said that, like, it's just like, oh, of course that's how it should have happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that would have been awesome. I would have dug that. I will push back just a little bit, because Ezra is a goofball.
That's true.
Like he is that. Like, and yes, he should have grown. You know, he's grown up, especially in these harsh conditions. You would have expected him to be, you know, a little bit more weathered. But also, I kind of love that he's not. You know, we've done that a couple times in Star Wars, like Luke. You know, you come across him, and like all of a sudden he's turned from, you know, a guy who smiles quite a bit to being like, I came here to die. You know, like I'm glad that we got a character that was a goofball, and continues to be a goofball. Now, I do think that his entrance should have been more epic. So I like the idea of him coming in and wrecking shop, and then, you know, having some jokes, and then getting
still being himself. I just think that the way we knew it was happening, the way that it happened, Sabine didn't know, but we knew. We knew Ezra was going to be there. They brought her there. They had the rebel insignia. I felt like it was a little too obvious at that point that, he's going to be in this little town. I knew it.
I was expecting him to come in with fish, you know, like that he was fishing out there, and, you know,
which is okay. But I think it would have been interesting, because honestly, I was coming into this episode, we'd already gotten Thrawn early in the episode, and I was like, well, that's the reveal this episode, right? We're not going to get Ezra. And I think it could have been more of a pop surprise to go, whoa, no way. And then it would have even set up the heightened tension of, I cannot wait for Shin and Baylan to come across them. Ezra's going to wreck shop again. Right? Like that's just, and maybe they're saving it, but.
And he could have been wearing a helmet, like one of those stormtrooper helmets, and then been like, you like my helmet? And that could have been like the goofball thing, because he's always, you know, collecting the helmets. Yeah. So like I think they could have done a lot better with his introduction. Like, there is something to that of him just like leaning against it and just kind of goofing, but you just kind of did that with Anakin. Like with Anakin being like, hey Snips, you know, or hello Snips. You know, like they just did it. So it wasn't like that, like, oh, cool. And we were expecting it. Weird that she came all the way to a different galaxy and doesn't just like immediately run over and hug him, and like, this is her brother. Like, they get a hug eventually, but just to be like, how much do you play it cool, like, all the time, that you just like default to that? Like, you know, you've gone through hell to find him, and like, you don't immediately just go like, yes, oh, I'm so glad you're alive, you know, start crying or something. You're just like, oh, hey. Like, what? Like, one's that cool.
Especially because she knows what she's given up to get him. She knows the sacrifice of what she's given to the galaxy, that she basically has led destruction upon the galaxy to see Ezra. You're right. I think they tried to let the moment hang, and it was like, no, you didn't need to.
You don't do that in that moment. Like, I mean, like, maybe after you be like, you grew a beard, you know, like something like that. Like, you just have a little bit of fun with it.
She would have just,
I like your beard.
Yeah, exactly.
For Ezra.
Yeah. Which his beard was great. Dude, he looks awesome. Like, he looks like a freaking like legit Arabian Knight. Like, he had like chainmail. So cool looking. Yeah.
Was it chainmail underneath? It looked like, or
some kind of metal. Like, it looks like he legit is a knight. Like, he's in the Crusades or something.
It's
so cool.
Well, and we're gonna get a lot of action in the next episode. I'm not suggesting that the only way to do it is via action. I just think it could have been more of a surprise. It felt like I said, they walked for 7 minutes, it felt like, and then, they get to this town. Okay, she met more of the little rock creatures. Okay, and here's Ezra. So,
Yeah.
and I'm being
Also,
nitpicky.
if
I
we're
still
building
enjoyed it.
up, oh, sorry, go
No,
for it.
I was just saying I still liked it, but I'm just being nitpicky.
Sure. Yeah, and if we're building up for Sabine having the Force, it's kind of ridiculous that like the main focus of her entire life, she has risked everything. She's risked the
Yeah.
entire galaxy, and she doesn't feel like he's right behind her. We get no indication that she's feeling Ezra's presence
at all.
and that is just so odd. Like if you have a character who, like, it seems to be like their main struggle is whether they have the Force or not. I think it's pretty definitive at this point that they don't. But like she'll move a cup in like an episode or grab a lightsaber. There'll be something, and she'll like have the Force. But like how she couldn't in that moment when her heart's desire is like right behind her, like that's just so weird to me.
Well, and that whole sequence of the dog wolf thing sniffing out the rock so that she can find, like, it just felt like it was too easy, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think overall all of it was done really well. I'm glad that we got Ezra in this episode because it's one less thing they have to reveal, and we can get more of the action and answers we're looking for in the last episodes, or at least some of the answers. I know you don't think we're going to get very many.
In the last 5 minutes of the last episode, we'll get answers. That's the way it goes.
Well, I think it's going to start. I think this next episode is going to start right out the gate of Shin and Baylan coming across and coming down to where Ezra and Sabine are. I think that's how it's going to open, because that's going to put the tension thing right on the table of what's going on. How did they follow you here? You didn't mention anything of danger, and something's going to happen between Baylan and Shin, whether it be Baylan and Shin give up and be like, this isn't worth our time, or we have some possible deaths on the horizon.
Yeah. Also, why didn't Thrawn put a tracker on the Howler? Like, if he's already like being like, oh, you'll go and get him, go sick him, Baylan. Like, well, if he's already doing that, then he should have just put a tracker on it.
Yeah.
Like it's such a weird, like there are moments of this show that just makes it so clear to me that Dave Filoni is best in animation. And I don't like saying it because fair. Again, I was rooting for this guy, but just like the long pauses, the weird quirky moments in the midst of like really tense situations, like her Sabine having like her little thing with the Howler and being like, no, go away. It's like, you have 3 days to find Ezra on this entire planet and get back onto the ship. Like, what are you doing chasing off your means of transportation? Like, because like, oh, you ran away from me. And it's like, it's a funny moment, but like given like what's happening, like that's just so idiotic.
But
like,
it also dragged. It dragged because it kept happening. It's like, okay, just either walk away from the creature or not. But again, I think it was there just to get the creature to sniff the rock.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's that, but it's just like, it's just cartoon stuff. Like it's the things that even on like a great cartoon, it's a good cartoon. Sure. Like, but this show is more of a cartoon than it is like a live action series. And once I realized that, it helps me enjoy the show a little bit more, to where I'm like, okay, because now I can sit back and be like, all right, these long pauses. Imagine if this was animated. Yeah, you would do that. You would want to like see the beauty of what's going on around you and have the quirky moments and have like things that don't kind of, I don't know, just don't fit with like the direction of where things are moving toward. Mm-hmm. Like we're moving toward like really dark stuff. Like Thrawn's got a freaking zombie army. Like these are dark things. and you're just like, oh, we'll play with the doggy. Like the doggy likes her and he's like just following after her. This getting like Wishbone.
Well, and even with those issues, I still think the way that the story has been set up is fantastic. I think
Yeah.
some of the issues of the previous 2 episodes that were plot holes or things that were kind of like, I don't care. They might still be there. I don't care because of what we have right now. And this is both the blessing and the curse of a weekly release TV show where you're giving me room to feel feelings, but sometimes those feelings are frustration and not always enjoyment. Whereas if it's a movie, yeah, it's all going to be rushed all in one sitting, one moment, and you have to be tighter on your storytelling than on a TV show. But the problem is we have so much to get through in this. So I'm still optimistic that I agree. I think there's been some pacing moments, but I also think some of the pacing moments I've preferred the pacing to that of Boba Fett or Obi-Wan. So even though the
well,
pacing,
that's not saying much, Jeremy.
like, it's what we've had though. It's not Andor. It's not the pacing of Andor that is deliberately slow and then speed up very, very methodically and purposely. I think that that's different, but I am comparing it to those because those are 2 of the most recent Disney Plus shows that some people like more than Ahsoka, and not many, hopefully. But I when I compare it to those, I still think this is light years ahead of some of the Star Wars live action we've gotten, even though there are places I think that could be a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, but like when I'm talking about it being more of a cartoon, I'm also thinking like character decisions.
Sure.
Like chasing like the Howler away, or bringing your kid onto a planet that just had like a huge battle and just being like, it's fine. We don't know who survived, but it's fine. Just go and play with Chopper. Chopper will protect you from a freaking Sith Lord. Like, like it's decisions like that are just like, okay, like it feels like a cartoon to me. And that's not like to like shame it. It just helps me kind of frame the show a little bit better.
Sure.
Of being like, okay, like, cause like even in Rebels, huge, awesome ideas in Rebels. And it's why I love that. Like I love everything dealing with the Force and Kanan and Ezra, like all that stuff. There's a lot in Rebels that's really high concept ideas. The world between worlds being part of it. Like I love that stuff. And this show is kind of just doing that, but it's, real people, or at least kind of like, I don't know. Like you talked a little bit about Thrawn earlier. There were some moments, man, your boy didn't look so great. Like most of the time he looked okay, but there were a couple moments I was just like, what is happening with his lips? Like I would love to see like behind the scenes stuff if they actually painted his face blue, because I don't believe it. Right now, I don't believe it.
You think it was edited after the fact?
Yeah, because the lip movement is weird at points. And like you wouldn't have that if that was like actual, like just makeup on his face. And we've seen it. Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka looks amazing. Like, but we've also seen the videos of her sitting there for hours on end getting her face all done.
I mean, we've also seen blue makeup and paint on Rebecca Romijn Stamos, and that's been pretty blue when she was Mystique in Marvel. So I think that there is some fairness to people that have been complaining, because there is something that looks interesting. It doesn't just look like Lars Mikkelsen. So I don't know if they're doing something with AI or they're doing something with computer graphics or something along those lines. You're right. I don't think it's prosthetics and paint. It does look a little different. I will say I'm willing to look past that. I love Thrawn. I'm hoping I'm willing to look past that. It does look like a blue Elon Musk a little bit. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And call it what it is. But at the same time, if it's written well, I can look past it. If it was the big screen in a movie, I might not look past that. I think that'd be harder to get past. I still think it's improvable. I think back to how some of the things between deepfake Luke got improved and so on and so forth. I'm not saying they're deep faking, but I think we could do better. I think his
Yeah.
eyes looked great, but you're right. I think some of the skin, and maybe it was, I watched on multiple screens and TVs. I watched on my TV upstairs, and then I watched on my screens down here. And I think the resolution down here wasn't as good because what I even screen recorded in some of my videos, I'm like, I'm going to play with the saturation to make this look better.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not a big deal, but it's just like for Star Wars and that much money and him being like the primary villain, right? Like he's the big bad that we're building up to. I think like you should make him look like extra great and not just like passable. And then also maybe don't use AI to do the stormtroopers behind him when he's like right in frame. Like they some of the times, like if you watch my video I put up yesterday,
I did. Yeah, yeah.
like it looks like those Wes Anderson
You said
videos that
that.
were going
Yeah.
around, like where there's just like a character looking here and things are happening behind him, and it looks like stormtroopers are like floating as they walk, like as if they were taking like that cargo, which we need to talk about, that cargo into space or something, rather than just like putting it on the Star Destroyer right there.
Yeah, I did. I saw your video. I did look back. I also looked back at the Huang comments. I don't know that I agree as much with the Huang as I do with the Wes Anderson kind of connection. I could see some strangeness. I think this also comes back to how much is practical sets and how much is the volume. I think this is where you can get into some of problems there. I didn't necessarily notice too much because even like we go back to the best cinematic scene in the entire show this week, and maybe in the entire show, of the Crimea coming up over that obelisk tower thing. I thought that was done so well. And I don't know if you noticed,
Looks
but
beautiful.
it looked like now the Crimea got a paint job and had some designs and like tribal tattoo almost kind of over it. And it all looked really, really good. But I think machinery is really easy to do like that. It's much harder to do humanity or human like things in that nature. Make it very hard, even just walking and movement.
But it's Lucasfilm. They kind of pioneered most of this stuff. So
Yep.
like you think that they could nail stormtroopers walking and putting some cargo in a ship.
We just recently, our church group just recently watched E.T. For a movie night, and throwback to old graphics. I think a lot of the kids were really surprised, like, wow, this is better graphics than I thought. I also forgot about some of the opening lines in that movie that you already know what I'm thinking. So,
yeah. I just watched it with my oldest. We're doing like showing him all the classics. So he's 10. And yeah, I was like,
nice.
oh, well, don't say that word, bud.
Yeah. You do not yell that across the table at your siblings. Yeah, good times. But yeah, let's talk about the cargo. Let's talk about the coffin-esque floating with the little, you saw the keypads. It felt very similar to what we've seen in other places in Star Wars. And most of the other times when that cargo's moving and it looks like that, there's a body in there.
Yeah.
What do you think about the cargo?
Well, I think if it was just like minerals, because at first I was thinking, well, it's the gold stuff, like that they put on the ship and that they have in the armor, and maybe like we don't know how, is that stronger than Beskar? Like we don't know. So I was thinking it was that, but then again, like they would put that in those like canisters, and they went into the catacombs, like that's what Morgan said was like, yeah, it'll take 3 days because there's so much in the catacombs. And it's like, well, that's where dead people are stored. So like it has to be. It is dead people. Now, who are these people? That to me is like the bigger question, why you would have to bring them. Like obviously he said it. Thrawn said like this was part of the deal he made with the Red Mothers. So he's taking them over for them, not necessarily for him. Like this is the deal that he struck with them, or at least that's what I gather from it. So I would imagine that these are dead Night Sisters over the centuries, and what they're planning to do with those bodies. I think probably trying to reanimate them, make them their own, like undead army. But I don't see how that fits for Thrawn. Like Thrawn already has an army. Now, whether he has like actual communication with that army is a different thing. Like he's got obviously the guys with him, but we got like the Shadow Council, and we don't know if they've been able to have communication. Like has Morgan been like the go between that? What's Thrawn's right hand guy that was in the Shadow Council?
Oh, Moff Gideon.
Well, yeah, but the other guy with the mustache, and they were having like the fight between him and
Admiral
Gideon.
Piet, I think it is.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, like I don't know if like they've been able to communicate or not, but he already has an army, so I think this is more for the Red Mothers, and I'm unsure of like why they're bringing these bodies, but I think they're bodies.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I think originally my thought was, oh, this is Thrawn wants these bodies. But now I think you're right. It might be part of that deal that was struck, and I do remember that line that this
as
is
per my agreement with the Red Mothers, I think is how it was said.
And he keeps his agreement. He honored the agreement with Sabine. So I wonder though if, and much like the Jedi now, and much like in the books, Thrawn is willing to partner with anyone that he thinks he can trust and is going to help further his overall goal. And if his overall goal is just to get to the next galaxy and then say, okay, we're done. That was our agreement. You helped me get there. I helped you get that stuff there, and we'll part ways. I think that's possible. I also think they're going to want to maybe be in more relation with Thrawn than that because of his seeming disdain for Jedi. And we know why, and being a part of the Empire. And I think they hold that together. So I think there's going to be maybe some camaraderie or some connection, or they're going to use dark magic again in some way. That was the big key word for me when he said, I need the dark magic again. It's like, okay, what was it the first time? I think it was the Stormtroopers the first time. And now they're going to do something else. So I agree. I think it's bodies. I think Catacombs makes that clear. Your point about who the bodies are for, more for the Night Sisters than for Thrawn. I think you're right on that too. And so I edit my previous thoughts. I think that's a good thought, but we have no idea what that means.
Yeah. Like I also like, I want to know, like, I think Merrick is the key to this thing. Like, I want to know who Merrick is. And I think if we get that maybe he was from this other galaxy somehow, because I'm starting to get like, maybe you have to be from the other galaxy in order for that animation to work, like that reanimation, like forever, whatever that spell is. So they want to get the Night Sisters into the other galaxy so they can do it and bring them back. Because if Merrick is from the new galaxy, then maybe that was like their test run to see if like they could do that, and they had to be in the other galaxy. And then these stormtroopers are from our normal galaxy. You see where I'm going with this? It's convoluted. But I don't know. Maybe it's like a flip-flop kind of thing. Like you can be alive in one universe and not in the other. Like, I don't know. But I think if Merrick is like, if we get anything about Merrick being from the other galaxy, then I think like that might be why the Red Mothers want to get them over there.
Yeah, it's definitely
weird.
has.
I know it's a weird take.
Yeah, it's possible. I think it's as much just they foreshadowed what these stormtroopers are. I mean, that might be the fullness of who Marrok is, and how we go through all that is, okay, there can be non-humans and just smoke in armor. And I think that might be the extent of it, or there's going to be something more with how everything is handled. It seems strange. Here's the thing that I still I'm not quite sure. It's never been very much outlined, and I haven't gone back because I don't feel like it, but it felt like Marrok was with Shin and Baylan more than he was with Morgan. And that's the confusion part of it. Like, how does that fit in with Morgan? Because it felt like he was part of the mercenary crew, not like part of the Morgan crew, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Morgan seemed to like cut him underneath and was just like, like, oh, like, make sure he finishes his task. And Balin was like, oh, Merrick will get this done. Like, it seemed kind of defensive of Merrick rather than just like stating a fact. So yeah, I would assume that Balin and Shin were with Merrick, but at this point, I'm just trying to put pieces together of the loose threads.
Yeah, like a Kintsugi pottery. Yeah, you're just trying to put it all together in a beautiful thing. Well, and I'm hoping that that's what this next episode does. I still like our theory from last time. I'm still holding out that I kind of want to see Ahsoka die and end the season with her dead with Anakin, and I'm fine with that. And then going into a second season where it's basically Ezra and Sabine. And though I will say Sabine hasn't been my favorite part of this show, as character-wise goes, but I think that that's more the writing than it is necessarily the actress. I don't think it's on her. So, but that, yeah. And I think some other folks have said that. I know Star Wars Theory said she's annoying. Everything she does is annoying. I'm like, I won't go that far, but
I don't know. It fits. Like some of these characters, like there are character flaws that we all have and we continue to have. Like even if we, grow up, people are who they are. So like Ezra still being goofy, that makes sense to me. Sabine still being a smart aleck and kind of making foolish decisions, like that makes sense to me too.
That's true.
But you would hope that they would learn from their mistakes. But I don't know. I'm just waiting for Ahsoka and Balin to have a rematch. Like it's going to be awesome whenever they get to whatever the secret power is and they're locked in eternal combat, and that's how that ends.
Eternal combat.
I think it might be. Like just to get both of these extremely powerful characters away. Nice. Like they're just going to be locked in some kind of combat forever, dueling over this power. And that's how the show ends. I don't know. That's just random.
Who knows? I think we've covered a lot. Well, in regards to the episode, I don't think there's anything we're missing in terms of at least.
We need to talk more about turtles and like what they eat and their clothing and like their shells. What's up with like their shell houses? And like I think they had like they were still going by like airwave TVs. We can get into that. And
they're just this version of this galaxy's version of the Jawas. That's who they are.
Yeah,
that's who they
seem
are.
Like that. Jawas mixed, but they're kinder.
They're nice.
They're so much more kind than Jawas. Yeah. Jawas are the worst.
They're just straight up mean. And I wonder if they have some kind of Force connection. Why did Ezra land with them? Are they the only inhabitants left? I mean, I don't know. I think that's something interesting to think about.
I think there's a lot to figure out about that world. Like, I know everyone's like looking at it and be like, oh, why is this world dead? I don't know. It doesn't look that dead to me. You got a lot of different life forms running around, and who knows, what connection they have to the Force. And, and obviously we're not going to find that out through Sabine. She has nothing.
So. Nothing. Okay. So here's an important question. As you are an Ecamm guy and a Mac guy, have you done the update yet for Mac? And does it all run smoothly together? Because my computer keeps telling me you should do the update. I'm like, no, I've done this before.
I have not. I just did the update for Ecamm, but
I did too. Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'm still gonna say no, not yet.
I'll do it and I'll let you know.
No, don't, because we're streaming tomorrow night over on our other channels, so can't.
Hey, you're running everything. I'm just logging in.
That's true. So I'm not going to update.
I'll update. I'll let you know. I'll do the test.
Yes. We should make John do it because he doesn't need his Ecamm. But
yeah,
there you go.
He doesn't have any Star Wars to talk about. That loser.
That's right.
I like your beard.
He also doesn't have as cool of beards as we do, but that's okay.
Oh, snap.
And I haven't found a way to work this one in, but I'm still going to use it.
Hello, puppet. Nah, dang it. I was like, we won't do it tonight. We'll save that.
No.
You just couldn't help yourself, could you?
I can't. This new the Stream Deck makes me want to just press lots of buttons always.
It is. These things are very fun. They're very fun, and you have more buttons than me.
So. I have a lot more buttons. I have all the buttons.
Oh snap! That thing is huge, dude.
It's massive, bigger than my head. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, it's.
Man, I feel like I should just chuck this in the trash now.
Well, can you imagine if you had the mini? It's just like 3-4 buttons. It's like
I used to have it.
I know.
I can imagine.
You told me not to, and I trusted you, and I thank you for that because
worst decision, man.
Yeah, it's like, well, I rented that for a little while and sold it to somebody else. But yeah, that's the way it goes. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out. If you've got any comments or questions, throw them in the chat. I'll do my best to get to them as we go. But I'm more excited now than I was 2 episodes ago, and I didn't think that would be possible. So I'm excited.
It won me back. This episode won me back. You know, it's still, like I said, the same flaws are still there. But we're getting some of the answers, and the mystery that's still there, like it's more interesting than it was an episode ago. Like, I didn't care as much. I know, like it's a bad thing to say. I didn't care as much about like the mystery around Anakin than I do about like what this other galaxy is and this empire and like why the Red Mothers are running away and like all that stuff. That is way more interesting to me than like, was Anakin real? Was he not? Like that kind of mystery stuff. So I'm very excited, and mostly I'm just saying like we need more Jason in this episode. I don't know why, but I'm just like, Jason's gonna come not just like inside a Purrgil. He's gonna come riding on a Purrgil out of nowhere, and he's gonna save the day.
Do we get any Force premonitions, connections to Kanan with Ezra? I know Freddie Prinze Jr. I think has said he's not doing anything.
Yeah, man. He's like, there's big issues there.
I know.
Like, yeah.
Would they do something with Kanan without him?
No. I mean, like, we have 2 episodes with Ezra. I don't see them diving into his past. You don't have time for it. There's too much to do.
Fair.
So unless we get like an Ezra Bridger spinoff show, like then maybe we start to deal with Kanan and stuff. But no, I don't think we're going to deal with anything like that. I don't think we have the time. I do feel like if we continue to drag in episode 7, you know, like we just all of a sudden we're, you know, like spending 10 minutes explaining how they got to the galaxy, like, and don't just like immediately go with like, wait, you did what? And like, that's where we go. And if it's like, well, let me explain, sit down, have some soup from the turtles. And
we
like,
found this ball, Rubik's Cube. I knew how to solve it. No one else did.
You're talking too fast for it, Jeremy. But if we do that, then like there's not going to be any time for anything. So I am excited in that we've gotten to we've been backed into a corner with this show. And even though I haven't liked the pace, I don't see how you can keep the pace and can like complete some of these storylines. So I am very excited for like how fast we're going to go through these next 2 episodes. I expect it to be breakneck speed and be pretty awesome with like the storytelling, the overall storytelling.
Sure.
I think it's going to be pretty good.
Do you think we will get a full Ghost Crew reunion before the season's done? Chopper, Zeb, Hera, Sabine, all back together with Ezra.
My heart wants that so much, man.
That's why I asked.
I'm not kidding. Like, I will probably like shed a tear if that happens. Like, I just love these characters. So it just makes me laugh when people get mad at me for talking about Star Wars. They're like, you didn't watch Rebels. It's like, dude, I freaking adore these characters. It's just they're not being used well, at least in a couple of these spots. But I don't know. Like, if you had asked me before they brought Hera over to CTOS, I would have said definitely. But you went to CTOS and you don't have Zeb there. Like, you had a perfect opportunity to bring Zeb into the picture and for him to be there for them all to come back. And maybe that still happens. Like, maybe Zeb hears about it and he comes and he's doing some investigating. We just don't know. And he's just there. But I think we've already kind of moved past that. So I think down the road we will. But I'm not expecting that. If we get it, I will freaking love it.
So
but
what we are going to
get,
get, okay, I don't think we're going to get that, but now it dawned on me. We're going to get the Ghost shooting down TIE fighters. Like, we talked about the New Republic ships, but we're going to get the New Republic saying, okay, we'll court-martial you later. Please go save our butts, General Syndulla. They're going to eat their crow, and they're going to need the general to do her thing. And Jason's going to be there. And he's going to be maybe manning the cockpit, the gunner seat, kind of like we got earlier. Yeah,
it's going to be cool, man.
That'll be pretty cool.
I'm expecting that to be just like don't get too shocked when it's only like a 5-minute segment in the last episode.
I know.
Like, he's going to come in, he's going to destroy those big ships, and then he's going to, refuel, get to where, all these resources are waiting for him.
Is Moff Gideon still alive? Does he show up with Moff Gideon somewhere?
No, Moff Gideon's dead, man. Like, I don't know. How do you make that guy survive that? You literally crashed like a huge ship into his head.
It's a clone. It was a clone.
All the clones are dead too.
What if he was not even there?
Oh my goodness. Then what's the point of that?
I know. I'm just saying, it's possible.
No, he's going to like whatever mustache guy. And what's
mustache guy?
General Hux. Hux's dad. He's gonna go meet up with them and get all his new troops.
To speak does not make you intelligent.
That's what I have to say. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I don't think he's alive either. I like making it think, because the Shadow Council is happening. I don't think we'll get any of that. I don't think we'll get that far. I think it'll end with as I've said from the beginning, I think it's going to end with a Thrawn victory. I think that's how this is all going to end. And it's going to be a devastating one, where maybe if this is a space battle, do we lose Hera and the Ghost and Jason?
Don't you? No. No. What is up with you, man? Like, last episode, you're like, hey, Ezra's going to die. Now you're trying to take Jason away from me? What the frick, Jeremy?
I'm just,
Dark side clouds everything.
Yeah, the dark side.
Impossible to see. The future is.
We don't know what the future holds, but it's fun to think about.
If they do that, one man riot again.
No, they won't do that. I think that if they go that direction, I think that's too much. I am still on the train that I think Ahsoka dying is the best choice for Star Wars. It makes sense. She's talking to Sabine. Again, I think we even got some of it in this episode, foreshadowing, and it's just probably because I'm looking for it, where she's saying Sabine wasn't ready. She wasn't ready to make that sacrifice, ready to make that choice to destroy the map. And then Huang says, well, maybe she felt she had no other choice. That was the only choice she had. And so I feel like there's going to be a moment in this episode 7 where Ahsoka is going to be able to use something as a teachable moment for Sabine. And maybe it's her sacrificing herself.
Yep.
And that
unlocks Sabine to use the Force. If that happens, I'll be okay with it. At
that point, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see.
Or maybe Sabine just trips over one of the turtle people and like all of a sudden uses the force to stop her, like Luke.
And then we look over and it's actually Ezra just going like this.
Yeah. I was just trying to make her more confident.
I'm trying to help.
I'm just like really happy that we finally get what everyone has been wanting. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Star Wars crossover, you know?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Oh man. Yeah. I didn't have a problem with them. I know some people are like, they're annoying. I'm like, it was the writing that got us there that annoyed me, not the creatures themselves.
I thought they were awesome.
Yeah, I think they're hilarious. They're just like,
I just think we spend too much time looking at their campfires and their trailer park. When we literally stopped to like look at a guy fixing the antenna on his trailer, I was like, what is this? Is this Florida? Like, what are we doing?
We saw the little baby in the makeshift little swing.
That was cute as heck.
That one was cute. But yeah, you're right. I when he said we got to pack up, I'm like, oh no. Are we going to watch Sabine folding laundry?
We're just going to watch him slowly bending over to pick up one item, put things in a bag, watch them just get really angry trying to take down a tent.
Yeah, it definitely, here's what it had moments where it felt like, did you watch Rings of Power? Yeah. Like them packing up the campsite and like getting ready to move. I was like, it better not be like that. And then them just slowly inching at a snail's pace down the road. I'm like, why even move? You're not escaping anything.
Here we go. We must be fast. We must hurry. Just keep moving.
No. Well, and I will say we didn't mention much, but I'm intrigued why the nomads didn't just attack Baylan and Shin. I know Baylan had that moment of like, the enemy of our enemy is our friend, but at the same time, it's like they don't seem like the type that are waiting around to find out if you're an enemy or not. They're just taking you out. Or maybe they saw all the people scattered on the ground and were like, I want to live.
Well, that, but also if you saw Baylan coming down the road, are you like, I could take him? No, we're going to let this one pass. Let's make a deal with this guy. Like you see Sabine coming down the road on her howler. You're like, yeah, I don't think she's going to take us. But you see Baylan with that epic beard and just strolling along. You're just like, yeah, I'm
I
not
like your
messing with
beard.
him. Best
Baylan.
beard in Star Wars, man.
100%. Not even close.
Yeah.
It's manicured with like tweezers.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like Qui-Gon, there's something to his beard. Like, but it's all scraggly. It's
Yeah, I agree. Oh, here we go. We got JB hopping in. He says episode 8 will be chaos. Talking about those little guys. They feel like Tusken Raiders of that planet might have, talking about the nomads, might have misspelled Tusken, but yeah, they definitely feel like the hide in the rocks, come get you, ambush you type thing. I love their look though, the red armor with the samurai look.
Yeah, and from the side, like they kind of got like this like head hammer kind of like helmet. From the side, it looked like there was a face, like in like the side of the helmet. Like, that might be something for you to like look up and like I'll take a look. Make a video about. But like it looked like there was a face. So are these like, and they're red like the Night Sisters. So are they like, like they betrayed the Red Mothers, like that they were former guards or something? I don't know. Like it just seems like an odd coincidence for them to both be in red. But hey, maybe like these guys just really dig red. Red's a great color,
You're rocking it tonight. Maybe it's a mocking. Like, you're red. We're gonna take your color and kill you with it. Or it's armor. It's armor that they've taken, and I mean that's just they're the scavengers.
Yeah, like maybe they've been taking the guards.
Yeah.
And then taking their armor from them and using their weapons against them. That's a great take. But yeah, I think with Baylan though, they were trying to make a deal with him. I think like they're going to make some kind of deal because Thrawn did say, or the stormtrooper who sounded just like Merrick, right? Like that. I think that was like a big giveaway too that we didn't
Dead
talk
giveaway.
About. Yeah, they sound just like Merrick did. But he was saying like they're like trying to get resources or something like that. Like the nomads are out there, they fight over resources, something like that. So probably just making like a little dealio and you know, giving them some stuff and then they'll leave them alone. If Sabine had just offered, you know, like her radio, would have been fine.
They shot first.
Yeah, I guess.
And then she had to I was like, come on, get the lightsaber out faster. Like right away. But
she's a Mando, man. She's got to pull out the guns first.
And had to shoot the little wrist pull and do all the little goofy stuff. Well, she doesn't even have her helmet. So okay, here's one other thing that bugged me. How easy it was for her to block things with her Beskar. And I'm like, you don't even have that much Beskar on. It's just like,
she's freaking Wonder Woman, man.
I guess
move
so.
Her arms like lightning fast.
Shoot for the flesh. Like shoot for the ankles. She doesn't have anything on her ankles.
Well, they don't know. Like
that's true.
Maybe they've never run into Beskar in this galaxy. You know, like I don't know what their red armor is made out of, but
didn't stop a lightsaber.
Nope.
No, not even. The one guy held the phone. I was like, oh well, that did nothing. Thank you.
Maybe the Ninja Turtles, like their shells are made of Beskar. Maybe that's what that's about.
Oh, there you go.
I'll just keep on coming back to the Ninja Turtles.
Forever the Ninja Turtles. Yeah. Well, anything else you can think of? I think we've pretty much covered it all. Overall, I think this was a 9 out of 10 episode for me. I really enjoyed it. I'm leaving the 10 out of 10 maybe for the finale. We'll see.
I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. Just still some of those pacing issues. Purrgil still look ridiculously dumb. I don't care how much hate I get about it. It's just when they opened up and it literally looked like a cartoon. Like I know like they're showing different colors in hyperspace to show speed and all of that, but it looked so bad.
Why do you think it was different? Did they say it was because they're going at a faster pace or
they didn't say it like, but they kind of
like assumed.
Yeah. Like at some point someone said this, like the power and speed you would have to get to another galaxy. There was something about that. But again, we don't know how long they're taking. Maybe a Purrgil takes 2 times as long as Thrawn, like or Morgan and her ring of power. like I don't know. Like I don't know how long that takes, but
sure.
That looked so dumb to me of seeing the Purrgil fly. I would have much rather gotten a shot like we saw with Grogu looking over and seeing like the Purrgil moving through hyperspace. Something using that effect, I think, would have been way more effective than just like rainbows and literally seeing them go up and down. It's just like, it's a goofy look, man. I just saw that and was like, oh no. It was a very bad note to start the show off with for me. But other things were super cool.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. I think it was good. I don't have the disdain for the Star Whales as much. But I think JB says, Morgan's ship is called the Precious. No, I think it's called the Eye of Sion. Or you're saying, oh, my Precious, like Lord of the Rings.
I got you. I got you, JB.
Took me here. Well,
your overconfidence is your weakness.
Sometimes I'm too confident in my own thoughts. But yeah, I got it. Yeah. It didn't say my precious. It said the precious, but yeah, my precious.
That was
my best. Yeah. It's not, I can't take it. But anyway, we got a week until it comes out again. I'm excited. I can't wait. The bigger question will be, are we still going to do these after we have nothing to talk about? This is fun. I enjoy it. We'll find out.
I like hanging out and talking Star Wars. Yeah, I could tick off half your fan base if you want me to.
They're like, stop having that guy with the beard on. He hates
Why
Star
won't he
Wars.
like Star Whales? Rename Star Wars Star Whales.
Oh, there's your next.
That's been Dave Filoni's plan since day one.
There's your next logo. You got to make that Star Whales.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'll wear a shirt that said Star Whales. Oh man,
in just the font.
In just the font. Else. Yeah. Yeah, he says it was a Lord of the Rings joke. We got you. It took a second, but we got you.
It's late, JB.
It is. And you're
hanging out.
You're on the other time zone, so you're a little less late. But yes, it is late. And it is that time. Well, guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for being on with everything. There it is, Star Whales, Silence of the Whales. And I think
I would love it if the whales were silenced.
So well,
as soon as I said, a graveyard for the Purrgil, I was like, yeah.
Hey, Dean, the next episode is going to start with some whales getting blown up.
Hey, I'm here for it.
And you're going to see the Ahsoka ship fly through just the mutilated remains of the imploding star whale.
Yeah. Also, all right, so you blow up the whale. There's a ship. Like, they know, like, they do realize, like, it's not just like an actual Jonah, like, where it's just like Ahsoka hanging out inside. Like, they gotta know she's in a ship, right?
Just all the whale blubber floating around in space. That's what's gonna.
Maybe it's like the oil that they use for their hyperdrive.
Yeah, it'll all be glowing and.
It's all rainbows.
And unicorns, probably.
Yeah.
Space unicorns. At least it's whales, not space unicorns.
Oh, I mean, it's almost there. It's basically that.
Is there any less attractive animal than a whale? They're they're water slugs. That's what they are. But
really, really fast water slugs.
Oh, we're going to see some dark magic stormtrooper whales soon. Oh, what if they get reanimated? They have to reanimate a whale to get back. And so they have to tape and gold a whale together.
Nope. I don't want it. I don't want it.
I know you don't. I don't want that either, actually. I think that'd be pretty lame.
Although I would go for like a Death Star of whales.
And that's where we're going to end, folks. Catch you on the next one.